Coming up, Fargo city leaders taking notice after a shocking number of fatal overdoses.
The Department of Defense now getting involved in the crisis at the border where thousands of migrants are gathering.
Plus, how an 80-year-old educator is impacting the lives of students in Thief River Falls. Valley News Live at 10 starts right now.
This is Valley News Live at 10.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. A recent spike in the number of deadly drug overdoses in Cass County now has the attention of city leaders in Fargo.
Valley News Live's Nishay Taylor takes a closer look at the trends and reports on possible solutions.
Data from the Cass County coroner shows drug overdose deaths in the county increased 55% from 2019 to 2020. Deaths from methamphetamine increased by 79%, while opioid overdose deaths went up by 40%. But for this year, county health officials project an overall decrease of deadly overdoses by about 8%.
We took the amount of overdose deaths that we've had so far this year, and we have projected out based on that number what potentially that number could look like at the end of the year.
As of September 15th, there have been a total of 38 drug-related deaths. By the end of the year, that number is projected to reach 54, while last year the total was 59.
Well, I think it says that we are definitely making a lot of headway. We're getting the word out about overdose. We're getting the word out about the availability of Narcan. We're training individuals on how to use it, on where to get it.
In the first 6 months of this year, nearly 3,800 doses of Narcan were administered, with 281 lives proving to be life-saving. The substance abuse coordinator for Fargo Cass Public Health says it's going to require more funding to fight the drug crisis in the county.
One of the best things that we could do is invest more time and more money into prevention and hope that less people, start using drugs to begin with.
Lit Kisal says for those already involved with drugs, the solution includes investing in treatment services as well as building a community that embraces recovery. In Fargo, Nishay Taylor, Valley News Live.
In 2017, Fargo Mayor Tim Mahoney launched the Blue Ribbon Commission on Addiction in response to the opioid crisis in the area. During tonight's meeting, the mayor said there are plans to bring the commission back in the fall as their work was interrupted by COVID-19.
Don't take our lesson away from us. I suffer too much to put money into that lesson. Please don't do that.
A plea tonight that went unanswered by Fargo City Commissioners. They decided to take away the liquor license from the Africa International Restaurant and Nightclub. The restaurant now has 30 days to sell its Class A liquor license to a viable buyer or have the license revoked. If they're able to sell the license in the next month, the commission says a contract in writing needs to be in place outside of the current ownership group.
A nonprofit developer has plans for the site of the old Kmart on University Drive. Fargo-based Beyond Shelter has plans to develop affordable housing for seniors. The proposed project would happen in 2 phases and include 2 buildings with 46 units each. Amenities would include a community room, a library, and a fitness center. No word yet on when that project may be finished.
The city of Fargo has now moved back to a phase 2 drought status after recent rains have helped improve stream flows in both the Red River and the Cheyenne River. But city officials say the Fargo-Moorhead area is still about 4 inches below normal, and it's even worse in areas like the Otter Tail watershed. The city will now revert back to a mandatory odd-even water restriction. That's the city of Fargo, allowing for a once-per-week watering schedule. When might we see even more precipitation? Let's check in now with Hutch for a little bit of a preview of what's happening outside. Hutch, what do you say?
Tom, thanks so much. Yeah, a wet day and a half here across the valley has brought anywhere from around 6/10 here in the FM area to upwards of 3 inches estimated by radar. And the rain fell right here where we needed it most, where the exceptional drought exists. and right here in the Central Valley. So that's good news. Now, look at the radar. Showers are exiting. We're seeing a couple form just to the north of you in Grand Forks yet, so we're not quite done yet. Temperatures as we head into the evening are generally in the low to mid 50s, and there is some dry air punching in, so our wet weather is going to change. But dry air under clear skies can really, well, it can cool fast. I'll have hour-by-hour details on how low we go, and we'll talk a little bit more about that forecast for the rest of your work week here in just a moment.
All right, coming up ahead, we'll have more from Hutch. Hutch, thanks so much for that. We appreciate it.
A COVID-19 vaccine for younger children could be in the works. Pfizer says tests that show a lower dose is safe for kids 5 to 11. It's welcome news for some families as the virus has infected nearly 500,000 children in just the past 2 weeks. However, despite the research, not all parents are convinced.
I am unsure of what that will be with long term.
I want him to be protected as much as possible, since even one of our neighbors down the street, she was 40, but she was unvaccinated and died.
Vaccination is higher among older Minnesota teenagers. So far, 54% of 16 to 17-year-olds are fully vaccinated. COVID-19 blamed for more deaths now in the U.S. than the number of Americans who died during the flu pandemic in 1918. Johns Hopkins University reports more than 675,000 people in the U.S. have died from coronavirus. That breaks down to about 1 person out of every 500. The CDC says there were roughly 675,000 fatalities from the 1918 flu. That data from Johns Hopkins also points to COVID-19 as the cause of death for more than 1,900 Americans each day.
Investigators have obtained a search warrant for an external hard drive found in the van of Gabby Petito, the 22-year-old whose family reported her missing after she had been traveling with her fiance. It comes a day after investigators found what they believe to be her remains in Wyoming. The hard drive was found while investigators were conducting another search warrant on the 2012 Ford Transit van that Petito and fiance Brian Laundrie had been traveling in. Her family is not optimistic about the release of the autopsy.
And I'm never going to be able to hold my baby girl again.
An autopsy is set for tomorrow to confirm Petito's identity. Investigators are still searching for Laundrie, who returned to his Florida home without Petito earlier this month. He declined to talk to investigators and then went missing last week. A shooting at a Virginia high school left 2 people hurt today. That happened at Heritage High School in Newport News. Police say an altercation led up to the incident, but they're unclear on details or whether the shooter was a student. 2 people were taken to a hospital with gunshot wounds that were not considered life-threatening. At least 2 others were taken to hospitals, one with asthma and another whose arm was injured while fleeing the school during the evacuation.
A showdown looming on Capitol Hill. That's after Democrats say today they'll attach a suspension of the debt limit to a government funding bill. The debt ceiling is a limit on federal borrowing. Raising it allows the government to avoid going into default. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says if the U.S. defaults on its debt, it could lead to financial turmoil, including a spike in interest rates and a drop in stock prices. Republicans have said they will not vote to raise the debt limit. That could lead to a government shutdown. Funding for the government is set to expire September 30th.
The United States Department of Defense says it will help move migrants who have gathered in Del Rio, Texas. This as more migrants continue to cross the border. Pentagon officials say the plan is to move them to other Customs and Border Protection processing facilities. Thousands of undocumented migrants have created a makeshift camp under the Del Rio International Bridge. Over the next month, officials say the DoD will provide air transport and supplement current efforts by Customs and Border Protection.
We're still receiving calls from some viewers who are having a reception problem with the Channel 11 signal. It involves those of you who are DirecTV customers. DirecTV continues to tell us their equipment is not properly receiving our signal. Our signal is functioning normally, the equipment not picking it up as it should. We're working together to get this issue fixed as quickly as possible.
Still ahead tonight, meet the hardest working man in the education field. One of them, at least, will take you to a birthday party you don't want to miss.
Some beautiful skies as sun mixes with the clouds as we approach that equinox right around the corner. Here's a look at that setting sun from our Tower Cam time lapse in Devil's Lake. Your forecast for the week ahead looks a little drier. Details next.